Namaste and welcome back to the Kapeel Gupta Career PodShow, the only podcast in India where we make sure you don't just pick a career but find a calling. And I'm your host, Kapeel Gupta, career counselor, storyteller, and your friendly neighborhood guide to the confusing, exciting jungle of career choices. And if you're new here, press that subscribe button right now. Your future self will thank you. And if you are a returning listener, welcome back, my friend. Today's episode, oh, better buckle up because today we are talking about one of the most fascinating, most talked about, and least understood careers on this planet, the career of a geopolitical risk economist. Now, before you say, Kapil Bhai, what is this big word? Don't worry. I promise that by the end of this episode, not only will you be able to say it without fumbling, but you'll understand why this career could literally change the trajectory of your life. And let me tell you a quick story. In Feb 2022, when Russia invaded Ukraine, the world woke up to something shocking. Wheat prices shot up by 53% in just a few weeks. Indian families who eat roti every single day suddenly saw atta prices climb. Cooking oil prices through the roof. Petrol prices don't even get me started. In somewhere in London, Singapore, and Washington, D.C., a group of economists who had been warning about this exact crisis for months were sitting at their desks, sipping their chai, and being called into urgent meetings by banks, governments, and corporations. Now, these were the geopolitical risk economists. And beta, that day, their phone did not stop ringing. Hi, I'm Kapil Gupta, career coach, life mentor, and founder of Study Abroad Academy. I empower students, parents, and conscious professionals to design a fulfilling life and career by aligning their minds, values, and aspirations. And I do it with coaching, mindset work, and the game changing power of graphotherapy because students deserve more than just guidance and they deserve transformation. So let us start right at the beginning, like a good story always does. Just imagine you wake up in the morning and instead of watching Instagram reels, you read the Financial Times, writers, and three different think tank reports before your second cup of coffee. Now you are tracking where the tensions between China and Taiwan could disrupt the global semiconductor supply chain. You're watching whether the new government in Bangladesh will change trade policies with India. And you're calculating the economic impact of a possible oil embargo on European nations. My friend, that is the life of a geopolitical risk economist. In very simple terms, a geopolitical risk economist is someone who studies how politics, wars, elections, international conflicts, and trade policies affect economies, businesses, and financial markets. They sit at the beautiful intersection of economics, international relations, history, and data science. Their job is to make sense of chaos and help organizations plan for it. And now let's talk about the day to day work because careers are not just about glamour, they're about what you actually do on a Tuesday afternoon. On a typical day, a geopolitical risk economist might write a risk briefing about how new US sanctions on Chinese tech companies could affect Indian IT exporters. They might build economic models in Python or R to quantify the probability of a currency crisis in a developing economy. They might present findings to a boardroom full of senior bankers or government officials. They might collaborate with political scientists, data analysts, lawyers, and diplomats all in the same week. And now, who employs these people? Now, this is where it gets really exciting because the employers list reads like a who's who of powerful global organizations. International banks like JP Morgan, Goldman Sachs, HSBC, and Standard Chartered have entire geopolitical risk teams. Global consulting firms like McKinsey, BCG, Control Risk, and Oxford Analytica specifically hire economists with geopolitical expertise. Think tanks like the Brookings Institution, Carnegie Endowment, Observer Research Foundation in Delhi, and IDSA pay people to think, write, and advise on these issues full time. Then there are multilateral institutions like the World Bank, the IMF, the Asian Development Bank, and the United Nations. And increasingly large Indian corporations from Reliance to the Tata Group are building in house geopolitical risk capabilities. So, according to a 2023 McKinsey report, geopolitical risk has become the number one concern for over 87% of global CEOs. Number one, not inflation, not climate change, geopolitical risk. So, you can imagine how badly this skill is needed right now. Now, here is where I want every Indian student listening to really pay attention because this is not just a career conversation, this is a national conversation. India in 2025 is not the India of 2000. We are the world's fifth largest economy and soon to be the third. We have the largest youth population on earth, 600 million people under the age of 25. We are a manufacturing hub, a technology giant, a diplomatic force, and we are surrounded, quite literally, by geopolitical complexity. China to the north, Pakistan to the west, Bangladesh and Myanmar to the east, and an entire Indian Ocean full of competing naval ambitions. Every single conflict, every trade negotiation, every sanctions regime directly affects Indian jobs, Indian businesses, and Indian inflation. So think about it this way. When the Russia-Ukraine war broke out in 2022, India's fuel import bill jumped by over 30 billion USD in a single year. When the US-China trade war escalated in 2018-19, Indian textile and electronics manufacturers suddenly found themselves as alternative suppliers to American companies. That was a boom worth billions. When COVID 19 disrupted Chinese manufacturing, China plus one became the global strategy, and India received USD 46 billion in new foreign direct investment in manufacturing in just 2 years. Now, these are not just newspaper headlines. These are the forces that are shaping whether your father's business grows or shrinks, whether your city gets a new factory or loses one, whether inflation rises and your household budget gets squeezed. So, for Gen Z specifically, this career matters because your generation will inherit a world that is more geopolitically fragmented than any time since the Cold War. The World Economic Forum's 2024 Global Risks Report ranked geopolitical conflict as the number one risk for the next decade. Climate change is making resource competition worse. Artificial intelligence is being weaponized by nations. Supply chains are being deliberately restructured based on political alliances. In this world, the professionals who can interpret global risk and translate into clear economic advice are going to be among the most valuable people on the planet. And India, with its unique diplomatic positioning as the world's largest democracy, a member of both BRICS and the Quad, is going to need thousands of such professionals in the coming decades. So, all right, now we get to the part every Indian student is secretly waiting for. Bhai, padhai kya karni hai? What do I study? So, let me paint you a picture of the skill ecosystem you need to build, and I'll make it very practical and actionable. The foundation, obviously, is economics. You need a solid understanding of macroeconomics, things like GDP, inflation, interest rates, currency exchange, balance of payments, and fiscal policy. You also need microeconomics, understanding market behavior, supply demand dynamics, and incentive structures. So, if you are in class 11th to 12th, taking economics as a subject is your starting point. If you're in graduation, a bachelor's in economics, politics and economics, or even commerce with economics electives is a great foundation. And now here's the plot twist that surprises most students. You don't necessarily need to be a pure economics student. Students from political science, international relations, history, or even engineering who take economics electives can also thrive in this field. The second pillar is international relations and political science. You need to understand how countries behave, why wars happen, what international treaties mean, how organizations like the United Nations, WTO, ASEAN, and NATO work, and what foreign policy means in practice. Books like The Clash of Civilizations by Samuel Huntington and Prisoners of Geography by Tim Marshall are fantastic starting points that read almost like thrillers. No boring textbook vibes, I promise. And the third pillar, and this is where the 21st century magic happens, is data analysis. A modern geopolitical risk economist is not just a thinker, they are a cruncher. You need to know Python and R for data modeling, statistical analysis, and building economic forecasting models. You need to understand how to use tools like Bloomberg Terminal, Oxford economics databases, and even basic Excel at a very advanced level. Don't be scared of coding. There are free resources on Coursera, edX, and even YouTube that can get you Python ready in 3 to 6 months. And the fourth pillar is scenario planning, which is the art of imagining multiple possible futures and building strategic responses to each one. And this is used by intelligence agencies, corporations, and governments alike. The classic shell scenario planning method from the 1970s is still taught in top business schools, and it is a directly transferable skill in this career. And finally, and this is the skill most people underestimate, communication. The best economics analysis in the world is worthless if you cannot explain it clearly to a CEO, a policymaker, or a journalist. You need to be able to write sharp policy briefs, present data visually, and speak with confidence. Developing your writing through blogging, contributing to college magazines, writing LinkedIn articles, or even creating a YouTube channel where you explain global events in simple terms, all of these build this muscle. I always tell my students, if you can explain a complex topic to a 15-year-old, you are ready for the boardroom. And now, let us talk about how you actually enter this career. Because knowing what you want is step one, but knowing how to get there is what separates dreamers from achievers. And I want you to be an achiever, my friend. So, the most common academic pathway is a bachelor's degree followed by a specialized master's program. In India, universities like JNU, Jawaharlal Nehru University, have outstanding programs in international studies and economics. Delhi School of Economics is legendary. IIFT, the Indian Institute of Foreign Trade, has excellent programs connecting economics with international trade and policy. Abroad, schools like the London School of Economics, Sciences Po in Paris, John Hopkins SAIS in Washington, D.C., the Fletcher School at Tufts University, and Georgetown offers some of the best master's program in international economics, political economy, and risk analysis. The LSE's MSc in Political Economy of Late Development and the Johns Hopkins MA in International Economics and International Relations are considered gold standards in this field. But here's the thing, you do not have to go abroad to build an international career. With the rise of remote work and global consulting, many Indian professionals are doing geopolitical risk work from Bangalore, Delhi, and Mumbai for international clients. What matters more is your portfolio of work, the papers you have written, the internships you have done, the research you have contributed to. So, speaking of internships, they are non negotiable in this field. Think tanks like the Observer Research Foundation, IDSA, the Center for Policy Research, and Gateway House in Mumbai regularly take interns. Research assistantships at university economics departments are another excellent route. Parliamentary research fellowships, Ministry of External Affairs programs, and UN agencies also take young Indians. Organizations like the World Bank's Young Professionals Program and the IMF's Graduate Scholar Program specifically recruit young economists from developing nations. So, if you are a postgraduate student, these are your golden tickets. Apply even if you think you're not ready, because the act of preparing the application will make you ready. So, let us also talk about lateral entry, because not everyone starts directly in this field, and that is perfectly fine. Many successful geopolitical risk economists come from backgrounds in investment banking, equity research, foreign policy, journalism, civil services, or development economics. So, if you are a CA who worked in cross border transactions, you understand financial risk in a geopolitical context. If you are a journalist covering international affairs, you understand political dynamics and communication. If you cleared the IFS, the Indian Foreign Service, you have frontline geopolitical experience. Now, these backgrounds, when combined with structured upskilling in quantitative methods and risk frameworks, can catapult you into this career in your late 20s or early 30s. It's never too late and it's never too early. In terms of specific roles, here's what you can look forward to: country risk analyst at a global bank, political risk consultant at a firm like Control Risk or Eurasia Group, economic intelligence analyst at a government think tank, trade policy economist at a multilateral institution, or geopolitical strategist at a multinational corporation, or research fellow at an international relations institute. So, starting salaries at Indian think tanks range from rupees 4 to rupees 8 lakhs per annum. Entry level roles at global banks and consultancies in India start at 10 to 18 lakhs, and senior roles in global organizations or international postings can reach 50 lakhs to over 1 CR per annum. The career pays well, and it keeps paying as your expertise compounds over time. And now, here's the segment that most career podcasts completely ignore. And it is the segment I'm most passionate about, because I have counseled hundreds of students and young professionals, and the single biggest regret I hear is not choosing the wrong career. It's choosing a career in the wrong way without thinking about the human being at the center of it. So let us be honest about this field. Geopolitical risk economists work in a world of constant crisis. The news cycle is relentless. Conflicts do not take weekends off. Market shocks happen at 3 a.m. There's a real risk of what psychologists call doom fatigue, a state of exhaustion that comes from being professionally immersed in conflict, instability, and uncertainty day after day. I've seen brilliant analysts burn out in their early 30s because they never built systems to protect their mental and emotional health. So, how do you build resilience? The first thing is to separate information from emotion. Your job is to analyze geopolitical events, not to feel personally responsible for them. A good geopolitical risk economist is intellectually engaged but emotionally boundaried. You can care deeply about humanitarian outcomes while still producing objective economic analysis. In fact, the best analysts are people who have both emotional intelligence to understand human consequences and analytical rigor to separate it from their work product. And the second thing is to build a continuous learning habit. The world changes faster than any textbook, and your competitive advantage in this field is always going to be the freshness and depth of your knowledge. Make it a daily ritual to read three quality news sources. I recommend writers, the Hindu's international section, and one specialized publication like Foreign Affairs or The Economist. Follow credible economists and analysts on LinkedIn and Twitter, people like Raghuram Rajan, Arvind Subramaniam, or international voices like Noral Robini and Ian Bremmer. Take one online course every 6 months to upgrade your technical or subject matter skills. The professionals who stay relevant in this field are the ones who treat learning like a daily workout, not an annual event. And third, and I cannot stress this enough, build your network intentionally. Now, this is a relationship driven field. Research fellowships, consulting projects, speaking invitations, and senior positions almost always come through your professional network. Attend seminars, webinars, and conferences, even virtual ones. Reach out to professionals on LinkedIn with a genuine, specific message, not a generic please connect request. Join communities like the Young Professionals in Foreign Policy India chapter, economics associations, or alumni networks of international relations programs. Your network is not just about career advancement. It's also your support system when the world feels overwhelming. And finally, let us talk about purpose and income. This career gives you both, which is rarer than most people think. You're not just earning a salary, you're contributing to making the world's economic and political decisions better informed. When your research helps a government decision, a smarter trade policy, real people benefit. When your analysis helps a corporation avoid investing in a conflict prone region, real jobs are saved. That sense of purpose is a renewable source of energy for your career. Combine that with the competitive income, geographic flexibility, intellectual stimulation, and global exposure, and you have, in my humble but well researched opinion, one of the most fulfilling career paths available to the Indian Gen Z today. So here we are at the end of another episode, and I want to leave you with something more than information. I want to leave you with a feeling that the world, this beautiful, messy, complicated, conflict ridden, resilient world, needs minds like yours. Minds that can think across borders, minds that can connect the dots between a political speech in Beijing and an onion price in Pune, minds that can look at chaos and see patterns and help others navigate with confidence. So here's a fact that I want you to carry with you. India produces over 8 lakh economics graduates every single year. Yet, fewer than 500 of them annually pursue structured careers in geopolitical risk analysis. So, that is not a problem, that is an opportunity, a massive, wide open, undercrowded opportunity for the students who are listening to this podcast right now. The Russia Ukraine war, the US China tech decoupling, the Middle East crisis, climate change negotiations, the race for critical minerals in Africa, these are not distant events. They are the forces shaping your future, and professionals who can interpret these forces and translate them into actionable economic insight are going to be among the most sought after people in the world over the next 20 years. So, one of those professionals can be you, should be you. And I believe it completely. Don't wait for the world to call you. Start now. Read one international news article today. Take one free online course in economics or political risk analysis this week. Reach out to one professional in this field this month and take that one big step that could change everything. Reach out to a career counselor who can help you build a specific, personalized roadmap for your journey. So here's my challenge to you, and I'm saying this with all the warmth and urgency I have. If today's episode made you think, even for a 1 minute, that this career could be yours, then please do not let that spark die. Because I've seen too many brilliant young Indians let sparks die because they did not know the next step, or because they were afraid, or because nobody around them could guide them. And that is exactly why I built the Kapeel Gupta Career Counseling Program. My program is built specifically for Indian students and young professionals who are done with vague advice and ready for a personalized, structured, step by step career plan. Whether you are in class 10th and curious about where your life is going, or you are a working professional who wants to pivot into a meaningful global career, we sit together, Understand your unique strengths, interests, and circumstances, and build a real roadmap, not a generic one, yours. So here's what I want you to do right now. Right now, not someday. Book a free 30-minute discovery call with my team. Just 30 minutes. In those 30 minutes, we'll understand where you are, where you want to go, whether my program is the right fit for you. No pressure, no commitment, just a real, honest conversation about your career and your life. Because here is what I know for certain after years of counseling. The biggest difference between the people who end up in fulfilling successful careers and those who spend decades feeling lost is not intelligence, not family background, not even hard work alone. It's direction. So, when you have the right direction, the right guidance, everything else falls into place. So, let me help you find your direction. Book your free call today. The world is on fire. Let's make sure you are the one who gets paid to understand it and change it. So that's a wrap on today's episode of the Kapeel Gupta Career PodShow. If this episode gave you even one new idea, one new direction, one new feeling of possibility, please share it with a friend who needs to hear it. Leave us a 5-star review on Spotify or Apple Podcast. It helps more young Indians find the show. And subscribe, you never miss an episode. Until next time, take care of yourself, keep dreaming big, and remember, your career is not just a livelihood, it's your contribution to this world. Make it count. And I'm Kapeel Gupta, and I'll see you in the next episode.